Have you ever applied and filtered in Power BI only to see the grand total change unexpectedly? You are not alone. Today we are going to dive into why this happens and how you can fix it. Let's unpack what's going on behind the scene in Power BI today. My name is Ellie. I am currently working at a technology consulting firm, helping business unlock the full potential of Power BI. One of the most important concepts in Power BI is something called evaluation context. If you truly understanding this, debugging your dashboards becomes 10 times easier. Let's first talk about evaluation context. Think of it as an environment where your DAX formulas are executed. It comes into two main types, row context and filter context. And yes, they are completely different from one another. Row context happens when Power BI iterating over each row of a table. You can see that in action in things like calculated columns or iterating function like SumX, CalcX, filter. Now let's jump right into Power BI desktop to take a look at it. Power BI typically auto-detect the relationship as left join. It also established a one-to-many relationship. It looked correct now. You can click save. And here you can see the relationship. Now I wanted to go to a table view. I'm creating a calculation to calculate the sales for last month by using a calculated column. So I'm going to add a new column at the end of the table. I changed the name to sale last month. And here I have the price multiply with the number of units sold last month. There are some zero values in last month. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to filter it out to other than zero. So now you can see that this loops through each row and executed the calculation sales last month based on the given value of each row. And the reason this can happen because of the row context. Power BI going through row by row and carrying the value of each row into the expressions. Another way for you to do this is through a measure. So we are going to the report view to make a calculation. I am adding the new measures to Amazon products table. I'm going to name this as sales last month. And to differentiate between the new calculation and the older one, I am adding SumX, which is the iterating function that we are using. Here we have SumX. The table is Amazon products. Expression is going to be the same as well. We got price multiply with product sold last month. And then now you can see that you have the two calculation here. One is based on the calculated columns and another is using the iterating functions SumX. To show you that this produces the same value, I am create a matrix. We got ID, we got sales last month, and sale last month SumX. And it still creates a row context internally, but we are about to see
how that changed.
Now we're going to talk about filter context. Filter context is created when you use a slicer or apply a visual beige report level filter or use a DAC function like calculate. Filter context defines what subset of data your measure is being evaluated against. Here is the catch: even though the formula stayed the same, the result came out differently depending on the filter applied. The more dimensions or fields I add to the matrix, the more filter context I am applying, which means my measure is being calculated over a narrower slice of data, resulting in a different result for each combination.
Here I am going to add an additional dimension to the matrix. So category name, I want it before the ID. And I also wanted to add a slicer to this table for category name. And now as we filter out to the first 4 categories, the measure change. So here it recalculate based on the new subsets of data. So this is why I call the filter context. Now this is when thing becomes more interesting. We're talking about context transition. Context transitions mean a row context being converted into a filter context. So it often triggered by a DAX function like calculate or calculate table. I am going to demonstrate you by using calculate function to calculate the sum of sales last month. I am adding a new measures to the Amazon products. We also using sums X, but this time it's going to wrap around by calculate, and the expressions is going to be the same price multiplied with the units bought in last month. The new introduction here is that we wanted to filter it down to only 1 categories additive manufacturing products. We have this new sales last month here, and I am adding this to the matrix that we used previously. Here we can see that the grand total has changed. So when you wrap the calculation around with calculate, the row becomes the filter context. Power BI is now re-evaluate everything in the new filter environment. This is often why the grand total behave unexpectedly. It is not a bug, it's a context transition.
So next time, if your total look off, don't panic. Just ask yourself, what is a filter context? What is a row context? Are you triggering a context transition like using calculate? That's it for today. Quick diving into Power BI evaluation context. If you find this helpful, be sure to give a thumbs up for more Power BI tips or drop a comment down below for part 2. Maybe we can cover deeper into calculate or even custom measure. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.